I have grown a little bit tired of your shit, to be honest with you.
I know I'm going downhill. Deep down, I know I'm a problem. I don't feel sufficiently safe to let things go and not always monitor things and make sure that everybody else is doing good.
Your idea is all the other dogs are in the sled and you are the only one in a harness. And I think that there can be other dogs pulling with you. It's not stop pulling and everyone dies. If you continue down that path, it destroys your ability to function not only outside of it, but also inside of it.
I'm not going to do that, and I really want to watch myself.
Here's where we're wrong.
What do you mean?
Welcome back to the I Wish You Knew podcast. Today we're going to have a very, very special fight. Andrey and I have been going back and forth in the last couple of episodes, well, several episodes on this channel, about avoidant attachment and how he thinks it's the best thing in the world. We also recently had an episode with a friend named Brian where they attacked me back and forth from business standpoint about how attachment is not going to be useful in the business world. And a lot of you wrote in with comments saying things, well, I can't repeat the language that you used, but you were very, very concerned about these avoidant men and you wanted to see some retribution upon them, if you want to call it that. Andrey is my good friend, and today I am going to tell him the truth as I see it instead of holding back. And we're going to have a very brutally honest discussion. I know as an avoidant man, you love brutally honest discussions.
So what's going to be in this for me?
What's going to be in it for you? Do you want me to pay you at the end of this? Do I need to pay you $500,
nice.
Like a $500 down deposit?
No. Up
from there. Okay, so it's a consulting experience.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, understood. Welcome back to the show, Andrey.
Thank you, Adam.
I have grown a little bit tired of your shit, to be honest with you. And I tell you this, I tell you that directly. So what I'm going to do that avoidant men don't do is I'm going to front load this conversation with context. I am not turning off my feelings and my love for you and saying you're dead to me and then having this conversation only if you follow suit and at gunpoint. I'm going to tell you, let's have this conversation, and I want to see how you go through this conversation. I want to actually work on this with you together, see if we can get to a place where we can agree on something. I'm doing this for your own good, so you'll thank me later.
Okay.
That's a phrase you love, right? Isn't that what avoidant men love? Is that arbitrary love being directed at them?
Let's see. But,
so we'll figure it out.
What's the problem exactly here?
So in one of our recent conversations, we talked about attachment in the business industry, right? And you talked about how up at the upper levels, the CEO or the leader, the executive, whatever you want to call him, needs to make sure he's not having feelings. Is that pretty fair approximation?
He's managing his
He's managing his feelings and then not caring about the feelings of the people beneath him. That their feelings are not useful.
The feelings of the people beneath him are less important than getting the job done.
But that's not what you said during the episode. They are not useful. In fact, when I said they are useful metrics, you rolled your eyes and scoffed, and I thought your retinas were going to detach because you rolled your eyes so hard, right? And at one point I said, you know what? Secure attachment within the company is very helpful. You want your employees to be securely attached to you.
Whom?
To you as the leader.
How? There's, say, 50 of them. How can it be securely attached to 50 people?
So here's my question to you. Is on one of our previous episodes, when I say one, I mean 5, you've talked about how you have implemented secure attachment at your company and that it has actually helped your revenue and helped your retainment of good talent. You've talked extensively on past episodes, and I know you have done this, about how you use secure attachment within your own corporation and it has done well for you. So where do you square that circle?
We square the circle in this way. Everything has a purpose, right? So every company has a purpose. And every person in the company has a purpose that they agree to play on. The company is like a team, right? But that team gets also style points. So what you have to understand is that in a business, in an executive and leadership setting, you're not a friend, you're not a dad, you're a coach, right? And you're a coach to your team. Coaches do not have the standard definition of secure attachment from what I know. Because what they're supposed to be doing is that they're supposed to be pushing people through discomfort to attain the result that those people said they wanted, right? So feelings are fantastic, but your soccer coach doesn't care about your feelings, how you feel against one player or another. You guys are there to play a game you said you want to play. And it's the coach's job to make sure you play their best.
I'm going to counter you on that because for somebody to have an effective relationship with you as a coach, there has to be secure attachment there. They have to have trust with you, that they're able to be open and vulnerable with you so that they can receive your counsel and your wisdom. Otherwise, it's pointless. You're just some random jerk that they can't trust, right? The higher their trust is in you, the more they're going to take your advice. Wouldn't you say? You've done consulting. Do the people that when you walk in, do they have zero trust in you and say, this guy is completely inconsistent? Or do they walk in and say, I trust this man, therefore I will listen to him and give him my most vulnerable, my money, my revenue, my retainer of my highest talent? That's an immense amount of trust. Do you want them to think that you're inconsistent or consistent?
Look, when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. Okay, I respect you for sure as a therapist, right? As a former therapist, as a good coach. But you're still looking at everything from the perspective of feelings. Not everything is feelings related. So there's a concept called respect, right? Mm-hmm. People work with you because you're valuable to them, because they respect you and they trust you. Mm-hmm. So very few of those things have to do with your standard set of feelings. You know?
Here's where we're wrong.
What do you mean?
So their feelings inform you to a large extent if they actually respect you or fear you.
What's the delineation in your definition between respect and fear? I'm not saying there isn't.
Well, let me turn that back on you, because yesterday you were talking about respect and fear. And I've heard you talk a lot extensively about the differences between respect and fear. Those are two different things, right? If you run a company where everybody is terrified of you, are you going to start bleeding your best talent?
Of course. But nobody ever said anything about running a company through fear without having to have the baseline for respect. There's going to be times for respect and there's going to be times for fear. Right? There's times when you're really on the hunt and you're really trying to create something and really push something. And after a certain point, people don't want to work, right? People want to go home, they have other obligations and whatever. And what they don't understand is the fear is not of you, it's the fear of the consequence. The fear of the consequence that comes if you guys don't do this. Oftentimes they don't even understand it because they're not at that level. You know, they do not have the knowledge, they do not have the skill set. And it's like if you're asking your kids to make decisions for you on a road trip, you're actually putting them in danger, right? And if there's a serious situation, you actually need to push through that situation until it's safe.
So why are you equating? I'm trying to understand this from you. Help me understand this. When I say that your employees should have secure attachment up to you, why are you equating that with giving them control of the relationship? Because secure attachment is something a child forms to a caregiver. Why does the child gain control?
Because my employees are not my children. There's a very big difference there, my friend.
Okay, but the attachment you form works on humans. That's how it works, whether you're an adult or a child or a son or a father, whatever it may be. So if your employees are walking in with horrifically bad attachment and you're provoking that, they could have the best talent in the world, but you're going to lose them. You're going to drive them away, actually.
Not necessarily. Not if they're, first of all, interested in the same purpose. Secondly, are financially compensated.
Money.
Third of all, treated with respect, right? And there's an element of respect.
Treated with respect.
Yeah.
So how are you going to treat people with respect if you have absolute disregard for everything that's important to them in that capacity except money? You're hiring mercenaries.
That's not what I said. What I said is that you have to treat people with respect, and sometimes you have to end up in situations of fear. This is what happens, right? You have to treat people with respect for what? For the time they allocate, for the responsibilities that take, the positions they take, the effort they spend, right? Their trust in you as a company, your trust in you as a person.
All of that would be secure attachment, yeah.
Then, okay, let's just talk about this. Like, what is secure attachment? Because secure attachment can be everything.
So let's pitch a hypothetical here, okay? I'll show you what secure attachment looks like. Let's assume you've got a great employee, right? High talent, very aware. They've never asked for a day off. They've never missed a day. They are very respectful of you and have always kept your boundaries. But it's Q4, okay? It's Q4 season. Something bad happens to their parent. Let's say their mom needs emergency heart surgery and they need to be there with her. And to be able to do that, they have to take, let's say, 48 hours off during a really intense period. Great talent, always respectful. This is the first thing that they've done in the last 3 or 4 years, okay? What would you say to that person if they came to you and said, I really, really need this. This is very crucial to me. Is this something that we can do?
Of course. It's something that we must do, because if you have no contingency planned out, right, you're a terrible leader, right? So you always have to assume that something is going to happen with somebody, right? And then the rest becomes contextual, because if that person got hit by a bus, they're certainly not asking me for permission to, go to heaven or to hell. They're gone, right? So everything has to have contingency. So if this person shows up in my office, says, hey, Andrey, I have this situation. I've had this happen many, many times,
I'm sure.
right? They say, hey, I have this situation. You understand why. You
So
look at their work.
Why,
you care for them as a
why
person.
is it important to give them that time off at all if feelings don't matter?
It's not a question of feelings, it's a question of systems. Humans work as systems. Systems have certain rules and priorities and targets, right? So if I, for example, make you leave your kids for extended periods of time, you're not going to function. You're not going to function well, right? What is the purpose?
Why wouldn't I function well?
Why wouldn't you function well? Because people need socialization, people need comfort, people need purpose, people need to stay true to themselves.
Those sound like feelings.
What are feelings? Do you want to define them? Feelings about what? What is a feeling?
An emotional experience you are having in your brain, a release of certain chemicals, the absence of serotonin, an increase in serotonin, the absence of dopamine, the removal of it, the spread of cortisol. For example, the respect. If I feel respect for you, that's a mixture of bonding hormones plus neurotransmitters inside the brain. So that's a feeling.
So basically everything in our neurochemistry is a feeling. If you're saying, I reject that and there shouldn't be any feelings, I would basically be a clam.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Which is exactly what it's probably sounds like to people that would listen to you say feelings don't matter.
Not everything's a feelings. Feelings are usually things of like feelings of what?
Well, why do they call them feelings? Do you
Obsession.
think? Why do you think we call them feelings?
I don't know. Maybe
Because you're using them to detect something else.
Sure.
The feelings themselves, I will say the feeling itself is nothing. It's a sensory data. It's a point on a piece of paper. It tells you, okay, this has gone up. But then what does that mean? If you tell that person, absolutely no, I don't really care, get your shit together, I don't care that your parents are dying, your mom is dying, that doesn't matter to me, get back to work. What that does is create a feeling. It creates betrayal, probably, and they say, well, all of these things I've done for you mean nothing during my time of need. It creates anger. It creates sadness that they have to now choose between their money and their mother. It creates a massive amount of resentment, so they're going to be angry at you, and their burnout rates likely go up. You're likely to lose that talent. Now, can you replace them? Potentially, but how long is it going to cost you? How much will that cost you? How much money? How much lost revenue from losing that person? How much time? How many years is it going to take to replace that person in their role? If you lose 6 months of productivity now during Q4, if you lose a huge portion, let's say you take a 15%
So there's a lot of
loss.
fear mongering happening here. So first of all, I never said that feelings like everything across the board, the feelings of hunger, the feelings of satisfaction, the feelings of pride don't matter. First of all, if everything is a feeling, every neurosignal transmitted through your brain is a feeling, there's nothing to argue about here. The reason why there's nothing to argue about here is because how can you say that nothing exists if this is a thing that we literally live in? What we're saying is manage your feelings and control your feelings, right? So here's the thing. You manage and control your feelings. Whenever this person shows up, the question is, what is your chain of priority, right? If they sit down and they say, hey, I really am very sad today. I need a mental health day. I need to go. You can look at their feelings for sure. And you go, what is he? What is she? Is she burnt out? Yes. Is she super tired? Yes. Mm-hmm. Does she not want to do this anymore? Yes. Mm-hmm. What is going to be the consequence of her leaving? Let's say, what if this person is a pivotal person to the delivery of a project she's been working on for the last, 5 years. Mm-hmm. This is the last day. And you go, look, I respect you, but if you leave today, everything you worked on for the last 5 years, the whole team is going to be out the window, right? That's why you have responsibility. In fact, society believes in this because they have legal contracts specifically preventing you from walking out. Society runs on legal contracts that don't care about your feelings, right?
Why does having secure attachment with someone to you mean never saying no to them? Because that's what it sounds like what you're telling me is if somebody has a feeling, you can never, ever say no to them in any way ever. That's what it's sounding like to me.
That's not correct. What you say is that you don't let the feelings, what they want right now, in today's moment, to run what is it that exactly you're going to do, right? Your feelings cannot absolutely direct your decision-making. You can absolutely take it into account. And of course, you say, okay, well, can I let this person go? I mean, I feel bad for them. They're having a hard time. It's okay. But I cannot let my feeling bad for them get in the way of everybody else's health, because then everybody's going to come to me and say, I feel this, I feel that, I feel this, I feel that. I tried that.
Sure.
And I tried that in companies, and the teams fall apart so fast.
Correct.
That specifically they coach more empathetic executives out of this type of behavior because it's a people-pleasing behavior.
Correct.
Right? And we do not want that.
Correct. That would also be insecure attachment. That's also insecure attachment.
Sure. So exactly, I do not agree that letting your feelings dictate what you do with a person is the way to go.
When did I say letting your feelings dictate people is the way to go?
When did I say ever that you shouldn't have any feelings in business whatsoever?
Our previous episode with Brian, you said it extensively.
What I said
times.
specifically is that you must manage your feelings, and that feelings, like that sense, have no
feelings have no place in business. This is business. You turn those off when you go into the office, and they are off. When you
My
go home, you
feelings
turn
are
them
off
on.
when I go into the office because I cannot trust my anger, my passion, my interest, my laziness, whatever those feelings are, to run me because I have a responsibility for other people. You do not want to have your pilot or your captain on your ship to be all of a sudden get distracted because he got sad that somebody said something mean. You guys run into an iceberg, right? You don't want to have a situation where the person who's in charge of you is driven by emotions and feelings as opposed to logic. Once you take responsibility, you must understand that there's parts of you that have to be sacrificed, right? You are in charge of people's lives. You have to take it very seriously, and you cannot simply go and lock into your feelings. That's what I'm talking about, right? So if you keep telling me that I have to care about everybody else's feelings, how's that going to work, right? Whose feelings do I care about more than less? When do I care about my feelings? We're all going to sit there in a big circle talking about feelings the whole time, not get any work done.
So, Andrey, what you're talking about here is something very specific called dissociation. It can be helpful when your brain is overloaded and can't manage the data that's coming in because it has to shut down and focus specifically on achieving a task. Okay? In business, I understand that, right? 99% of my coaching clients who come in who are heavy in business, executive positions, big business owners, they're doing exactly that because they can't handle the emotional data coming in. It's not that it's not useful. They don't know what to do with it. They feel overwhelmed by it. It seems like it's too much and they have to survive and get things done, right? But those clients end up managing those things that are dissociated away in other areas because they don't disappear, right? If you have trauma that you dissociate from and you pretend it's not there, it still comes out. It'll come out in your relationships. It'll come out when someone tries to hold your hand. It'll come out when you're hearing loud noises. That trauma still is there. It's buried and you forget it. So you can make yourself forget how many hours, what's your percentage in a week of times you're in business versus times you're not in business? What would you say? Is it a 80-20 split?
Oh, not even.
Okay, like a 90-10 split?
Probably.
So 90% of the time you are spending dissociating from your own emotions. Is that pretty fair? Do you do any work at home?
All the time.
Do you do any work when you're maybe out with friends in the middle of a dinner?
I try not to, but it spins.
Okay, so you find yourself constantly dissociating from your own inner experience about 90% of the time when you're with your child, when you're with your girlfriend, when you're out to dinner with me. So you flip into a dissociative state and then pretend nothing's there and then just get a cold, isolated job done. And then you try to flip back out of that dissociative state. Does that sound right?
Well, it's not that exactly. It's not exactly like I'm stuck with no feelings during that period of time.
I know you're
right?
not because I've been at dinner with you and you
Yeah,
have
it's like,
emotions. You're a human, but you're flipping into a dissociative state, saying I have to do this so that this doesn't happen, or I have to do this to do this hardcore
But
thing.
you have to flip. You have to. What options do you have?
And that's where most of my clients are stuck is they see that dichotomy. I have to collapse into it and everything will go terrible, or I have to dissociate from it and it will keep us alive. That's a false dichotomy that most business guys slip into.
How's it false?
Here's what you need to understand. If you continue down that path, it destroys your ability to function not only outside of it, but also inside of it. That's a temporary state that's meant to get you through short-term crises. It's not meant to operate that way for 20 years or 50 years in a business. It's not. It's false because there is a neutral path you can take in the middle, which is understanding, and as you said earlier, perfectly, regulating your emotions, getting the people around you to regulate, working with people who are regulated. Everybody needs to be regulated. I fully agree with you on that. And a lot of corporations are pulling in companies and getting attachment help even. I'm launching that to help people so that they can get regulated in their businesses. We need more regulated employees and more regulated leaders. Mandatory, okay? So that we don't have to dissociate, but we also aren't bleeding talent when we don't care. Now, if we don't fix this, what you're going to have is the really anxious, messed up people freak out and leave your company, or worse, stay and start using heavy medications to get through. So you're getting maybe 30 or 40% of their actual productivity just trying to manage their constant stress level. And the other people who are dissociating and avoidant, they end up using drugs. They are miserable. They're really productive right up until the massive heart attack takes them out for a year. They get massive cancer and all of a sudden get taken off the line and can't do the work anymore because they've dissociated from their feelings for so long. And now they're out for a year to resolve their cancer concerns. And now your business is going down because your business is not operating without that person. These are the problems. When we dissociate, it poisons us. It's great to dissociate during certain acute crises. But if that's your standard operating procedure, it will destroy everything you're building down the road. And you will spend all the money that you're making during this period, you will desperately spend it here trying to make up for the health loss, for the relationship loss, on your kids' therapy, on your kids' drug rehab, on your kids' funeral, whatever it is. And I'm saying this because I've done this with people. I've sat there when they're 70 years old and their kid has offed their own life and they have no one left. They have 3 divorces and all the people they've worked with through the years will not return their calls. Now, what do they have left? I'm not trying to fearmonger. I have seen the devastation on the other side when you dissociate all this time. So why does dissociation seem like the only avenue? Is it because you don't know how to collaborate with other people and make sure that you're only collaborating with regulated people? Do you not believe that there are regulated people? Do you not trust anyone to be as regulated as you are, so you have to assume responsibility for them? Is it that this is maybe a mismanaged way of assuming responsibility for other people because you've infantilized them? Is that possible? Tell me if it's not, but I really want to hear your thoughts.
So when you're dealing with constant disasters, right? And there's a very harsh world out there, right? The world itself is very harsh. I'm very lucky with it. I want really to acknowledge that. There's a lot of people out there who are way better, who are way more, competent than me, who've dealt with way worse circumstances. But from what I've seen, be it a little or a lot, it is a truly terrifying place. I have seen people lose everything. I have seen people, go through horrible circumstances, people who've lost lives, people who have lost their businesses. And what has happened is that they were often not even betrayed by the people close to them. They were kind of betrayed by the circumstance they were betrayed by the circumstance in which those people have lived. People have lost, their temper, and they have had horrible fights that have broken up families. People have, had horrible things happen just externally in a business, and just people would rip each other apart over the last, little pieces of the pie that was left. And that honestly has terrified me from the perspective of being able to come in and being able to trust people to not revert to a very animalistic state, right? And you have to understand that everybody has that animalistic state. Everybody has what they call a shadow, right? There's actually a bunch of people that are now active in the online community talking about shadow work and integration of self.
Yeah, I've seen
and when people talk about processing your feelings, what you have to understand is that you yourself are the biggest monster that you're ever going to encounter, right? That if you do not properly connect and know how to manage those feelings in a place where you can not cause damage to the people around you, you will absolutely destroy the lives of everybody else, because people will trust you, especially if you're talented, if you're smart, especially if you're charismatic, especially if you're, you look a certain way, or you have a certain amount of access to wealth or even opportunity, or just get lucky, and people will believe in you. And you will most likely lead them astray because you're going to be weak, because you're going to be angry, because you're going to be upset, right? So that is why it's so important. While I understand that disassociation isn't great, I want to talk to you a little bit more about that. But it's also why it's so important that if you choose to go down the path of leadership, you cannot put that shadow first. You cannot let those feelings run, right? And you're always on, because you don't know when the unexpected is going to happen within you internally as well as outside. And internally is, maybe I had a day that's too long, and I really am going to start processing these feelings in the middle of dinner. I had some stuff go bad today. I can't snap out of it, and I let it loose on on a kid, or one of my friends, or my wife, or my girlfriend. And the damage that can cause is significant, because the stress from that experience is significant. right? There's so much momentum, so much energy that's happening inside that's inner system. How do you manage that? How do you release that pressure?
Two things stand out to me from this. One is it sounds like there's actually a lot of fear on the inside, of fear of what could happen, fear, fear, fear. It sounds like a lot of that dissociation is fear of what if I don't dissociate enough?
What if I don't disassociate enough?
Right.
What do you think is going to happen? Let's play that game.
Okay. So there's a lot of fear that's backing that up, is what it sounds like, right?
I'll be honest with you, okay? We started this conversation a number of months ago, and I thought I'd play it a little part and say, let's argue on behalf of avoidance, right? And the first thing you said, you're all afraid. And I said, F you, right? Because we're not really, right? We're not really quite afraid about going out and being like, okay, well, what are you going to do? I'm not afraid of getting, like in trouble in terms of like if I do something that's important, if I pursue something that's like a dream, I'm not afraid of, like standing up for the people I love. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not afraid of really like putting things down for a purpose. What I'm afraid of, and we never really got into this, I'm afraid of failing internally. I'm afraid of failing the people I love. I'm afraid of failing myself, right? And knowing that this aspiration that I have, right, this thing that I've been building my whole life towards being a good man, I'm incapable of accomplishing.
So if there was something that could come in and work on that for you and resolve that fear, if there was a system wherein you could collaborate faithfully and openly and have those fears resolved, if you could go beyond just yourself and have something you could faithfully really connect to that would give you the answers you're looking for, so that there was no more of that fear of failure internally or failure to give to other people or failure to provide, all of that fear, if you could be fully released from that through collaboration externally, would you do it?
Help me imagine what a fear-free life would look like. Because fear, let's first of all call it what it is, right? I don't like the term because the idea that fear makes you weak is actually incorrect. Actually, fear is the key point of data that makes you strong, right? So it's actually a signal.
Let me ask you something very important, because we've talked in previous episodes about your religious faith.
Sure.
What does the Bible say 365 times about fear? Exactly 365 times.
Does it actually?
Exactly 365.
Do not be afraid.
Do not be afraid. So you've also talked in other episodes, and over on my YouTube channel, I remember you talking about your faith in God and your religion with God and your relationship with God and the Holy Spirit, right? What do you think the role of the Holy Spirit is in the life of somebody who is avoidantly attached? Do you think it's a quiet observer, the watchmaker God who sits there and simply watches you fail?
You're asking for a theologically correct answer, or whatever?
I'm asking
interpretation
how you can spend 90% of your day dissociating away from your fear that you are feeling and not invite something external in, which is designed to help you overcome that fear through collaboration. And that thing will then unite you with other people, and that thing will operate in them to also help them regulate and turn things back to the good. Not that this will make everything perfect, but that this is actually the unifying force between people that you've been missing. If you're dissociating all that time due to fear, you're actually rejecting the core of your own religious faith. If you're saying, I have to do all of this, and if I stay afraid enough, then I will make everything work great, you're rejecting your own core faith. One of the things they say is the only unforgivable sin is to blaspheme against the Holy Spirit, which is actually to reject the Holy Spirit and say it has no power, right? Is that what you're doing?
Are you calling me a bad Christian?
I am asking you if you think you're a bad Christian.
Ooh. I don't know what I think about whether or not somebody can be a good Christian. I think it's up to us to judge, truly. I would not ever judge anybody else in terms of being good or bad, because I know it's happening.
I'm not asking you to. Are you living to your faith consistently, or really, is this one area where you are being called on maybe to grow? Is this maybe the answer to avoidance? Because remember that we humans, we are crafted to be securely attached to God. That is represented first through our relationships with our parents, and then it grows to other humans, but it always comes back to God. And Jesus came down and said, I give you this last commandment, love each other as I have loved you. Not dissociate from each other and barely scrape to survive. love each other, right? We have the servant leadership model from that. The servant leadership model is aware of feelings, not swamped by them, but is aware of them to nurture and guide so that people grow behind you with confidence, so that you nurture that next generation of growth. You don't get there from dissociating or even from teaching them to dissociate. And sometimes the things you have said is everyone needs to start dissociating like I am because the world would be better if everyone dissociates. I don't agree with that. There's times where we need to put things away, but we need to grow.
So here's the thing. I would much rather give the possibility to have that experience to the people I love, to my daughter, to my friends, to my coworkers, to my girlfriend first, and then we can talk about me, right? Do I think that I'm a bad Christian? No. But you got to understand that the disassociation is so that my daughter can have a proper, non-stressed out dad. Yeah, and, sure, it'll cost me some brain cells and, a couple of lost hairs, but I can make that price work. It's so that my friends that I work with actually can have opportunity. It's so that, my relationships that I value, you put them first and you turn some stuff off. Because I would love to, I'll be honest with you. I'll be 100% transparent. And, people at Veritas, I want to speak to you directly. Veritas is my company, by the way. Has it ever crossed my mind that I could just sell it all, buy a nice, beautiful plot of land by the ocean and grow a vineyard and become friends with everybody and raise horses and have a dog, beautiful family, just like your life, Adam? Maybe you don't have a vineyard or a horse, but
Not yet.
I'm sure you can get one.
Yeah, not yet.
Yes, it has 100% crossed my mind. But then I looked at it and I said, I'm not walking out on you because you guys aren't there yet. I'm not walking out on my clients because they have not fulfilled their purpose yet. My job is not done. I don't get to rest until that job is done. I do not get to go and relax and ditch everybody after they worked so hard to help me and have put their trust in me just because I want to have some feelings. So just as they have disassociated, I'm sure at times of their need, right, to come help me, right, so will I disassociate at times that I need to go help them. That is the foundation of honor, right? And there's a lot of things that I probably am. Many of them are probably not great things. But the one thing that I try to be is an honorable man, right? And honorable requires that sacrifice. And I'm sure if you want to go back to a religious example, and, I don't want to stay too long on the subject because not everybody is religious, and I don't want to lose our viewers here.
Sure, but I know that you are.
Yeah, but ultimately, Jesus came down to earth, and he was crucified, and he knew he was doing that. And I'm sure he did not have the best time on earth. I'm sure he actually locked up a lot of those feelings. In fact, that's what is written heavily throughout the Bible, right? He doesn't smite.
Dissociated?
Well, I don't know about that, I don't know about that because here's the thing. He came down and he got disappointed a lot of the times. He didn't smite anybody, well, arguably speaking.
So anger in the temple, driving out the moneylenders. The shortest line in the Bible is 2 words. Jesus wept when his friend died.
Okay.
Right? Those are 2 pieces. Joy, extensive. He felt deep emotions and he allowed them out because they were useful.
But not
Now,
always.
did he regulate them? Sure. But did he dissociate? We see those feelings. We see them.
Then maybe that's what we all have to eventually, that is eventually what we all have to be like, or that's what we have to strive towards, and I agree with that. But who goes first? Do I forget everybody and say, thank you guys, I appreciate you all, thank you my producer, thank you my, tech team, thank you my marketing team. I have now elevated myself to the point where I'm ready to pursue my faith in Jesus, and I'm going to go and I'm going to lock myself up in a monastery where I'm going to sit there, I'm going to find this apex of spirituality. Some people do that, right? Or do you say, okay, I'd love to do that. I'd love to integrate that part in my life, but I have other responsibilities, right? I know wish I could have, 2 hours a day to sit there, pray, and read the Bible. I'm lucky if I have 30 seconds because of all the other stuff that I got to do, because I got to take care of my kid, of my friends, of my girlfriend, of my work, of the people there, right? Because they're in a worse state than me. So then afterwards, in the 30 seconds that I have left, how much time do I have to sit there and learn how to manage all these feelings, how to manage all of this proper communication and all this other stuff? I don't, right? And a lot of other people who are in my shoes, they don't. A lot of other men who are sitting there, they're at home, they're working, 14 hours a day. I'm working at a desk. I'm fucking lucky. I have air conditioning. There's food in the fridge. There's dudes out there, and I see them out my window. they're working on the ground in 120-degree weather. Like there is no capacity for processing anything, because the fundamental of that is pain. And as a man, your job is to keep the pain out, away from things that matter. Your friends, your family, your children, your purpose. And you talk about that all the time, right?
So did I just hear you say that you don't have the time to learn how to stop dissociating?
Truly, yes. I wish I did. I wish I had, 2 hours a day to spend on my spirituality, 2 hours a day to spend in my gym, to really come at my best to every single meeting, be organized, be straightforward. I feel guilty most of the time. I do. Right? I feel guilty showing up to meetings and not having this like best performing, top dog mindset, smart, focused, compassionate, confident. There's days I'd crawl into a 6:30 a.m. meeting with my eyeballs bleeding because I was up till 1 o'clock catching up, helping people do things they don't know how to do, right? I'm definitely not at my best, could barely stand, right? Because I'm so tired from doing this for months and months and months. And I feel guilty most of the time that this is what's happening, right? This is what's happening most of the time. And I hate that. I would love to have a month off where I can go and fix my shit and come back this better man. But I don't get that because I'm not walking out the people who need it more. And that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that one day I'll snap and say, fuck it. I'm going to leave. I'm going to basically say I'm going to sell everything and run out the door, and then I'm going to have a happy life spending the money I've made with the people I really like. And there's some people who do that. But I'm not going to do that. And I really want to watch myself, because the idea is that this is a team, and this is a group, this is a tribe, and they walk together. And just because you're the fastest guy in the tribe and the strongest guy in the tribe doesn't mean you leave them. It actually means you're always walking at their pace. You're always doing more. And yeah, I would love to have that time. So please tell me how I can have that time.
So I've seen this many, many times with all of the avoidant men that I work with. Would you agree that you are avoidant? I mean, you've said it 50 times, but...
Yes,
yeah.
I agree that I am avoidant in my tendencies.
Okay. And you know that I'm updating the field of attachment theory right now, because so many times when people look online, all they read about is how avoidant people are mean, awful, evil, they want to eat you alive, right? And that's not you. I know that that's not you.
Sure.
There's a wide spectrum of avoidant behavior. From ethical avoidant behavior over here of I will hurt nobody. Everything you just said about your friends and family, right? All the way down over here to manipulative avoidant of other people will do anything they can get away with at me and will hurt me if they get the chance. Therefore, I can justify, and it gets worse and worse and worse the further you go down that spectrum. Now, off the chart way over here, as trauma accrues and terrible things happen, personality disorders, right? I've worked with those people. I don't think you're ever going to get there. I would not let you get there because you're my dear friend. But the spectrum here, that what you're talking about, is swinging wildly back and forth on this spectrum. So if you're trying at home to be ethically avoidant, and then you're getting more and more frustrated in your life experiences, and I've seen some of the life experiences and the people that have hurt you in the past, I do not have even the slightest doubt in my mind of like, why is Andrey sometimes more avoidant? Why does he have a hard time trusting people? I look at it and I'm like, how is Andrey still capable of trusting people even this much? All right? Because I've seen what people have done, right? I've seen that. But when you get further down this side of the spectrum, and you talk about taking care of the people around you, and you talk about taking care of your children, and you talk about and you do, you're a damn good dad, but when you talk about taking care of your friends, your girlfriend, the further you get down this spectrum, the people you care about begin to hear that, and they smell it, and they're aware of it. And as much as you can do everything to care for them, and you come home and say, I have done this for you and taken care of this for you, I love you, here is a stuffed bunny, and your hands are covered in blood, and you hand them a happy little stuffed bunny. And when they start hearing you go this hard at other people, and if they see it, they start to be afraid of you, and you start to lose them, and you can't compartmentalize perfectly forever. The worse that things become, the more you reach down this side of the spectrum, even with your own children. During the worst times in my life, I've started to find myself having more manipulative words at my kids, and it hurts me, and I have to rein it in and apologize to them and fix that breach. But the further you get down this spectrum, the less you care about apologizing and reining it in and fixing it, because you start to justify, or you even just miss it. You You are one of the most ethical human beings on the planet that I know. It wounds you to violate that. I don't think you're a bad Christian for the context. I think you're a great Christian. I wish I was a Christian like you are, to be honest with you. But the piece that I see missing is you're doing it all alone. You're doing so much of it alone that as you go down the spectrum, you're getting further and further on this side through the conversations we're having to specify. The more manipulative things are accruing because of the damage you have taken. And we need to get you back to who you are over on this spectrum, even just during these conversations. And I think the answer there is, as much as it might pain to say it, it is receiving the opposite of the wounding you have taken from other people, which is that love. Where do I find the time? Maybe you don't need the time to stop dissociating. Maybe what you need is actually a huge 20-minute hug from your girlfriend and she won't let you go and she clings to you as you run through the house doing your tasks. Maybe it is your daughter just painting you pictures so you have 50 pictures around. I came here on this trip. My kids wouldn't stop throwing colored pictures at me that they had drawn. Dad, I drew you a goblin. Dad, here's Star Wars. Dad, here's a fuzzy bunny. And I have them laid out on my bed in the hotel room so I can see them and be saturated in them. It keeps me from going here. It pulls me to the good side so that I don't need to make the time not to dissociate because the people around me are providing what I need not to dissociate. And I see you as the lead sled dog. Your idea is all the other dogs are in the sled and you are the only one in a harness. And I think that there can be other dogs pulling with you. That's my hope. That's it. It's not stop pulling and everyone dies. It's not keep pulling until you die. It's let's actually get people who are properly pulling. And then, by all means, Andrey, if they're not, I will fire them for you. If they're not, I will come in and I will break up with your girlfriend for you or whatever it is. I will come in.
Oh God, no.
And I will watch your back for you. But that's also the benefit, is there will be people watching your back for you because I would do that for you and without a moment's notice because of that care I have for you. I know other people will too in your life. You're afraid of failing. How many people do you have that wouldn't let you fail, that would keep mobbing you and tackle you to the floor in a pile of hugs until you gave up or lost consciousness? The people around you won't let you fail. Alone, you will fail. In fact, in the Bible, it says there's a way that seems right to man, but in the end leads to death. Lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways, trust me. That's secure attachment. On this podcast specifically, have you ever gone back and looked at some of those conversations and watched yourself in those episodes? Would you, if you have, I think you've seen clips. We throw clips everywhere, all over the platforms. If you've seen how you were in those episodes, would you consider yourself fully regulated in those conversations? Is that the person that you want your daughter to watch that episode? Is that right? Would you want your girlfriend sitting in the green room watching us from behind the set, listening to that conversation? Were you maybe glad at the end of the episode that she wasn't there that day?
I don't know how to answer that question, to be honest. Yes and no. No, because I think there were a couple of times that I really told you what I felt, right? Mm-hmm. Because I believed, and just guys, for the people at home, I'm doing this so you guys can see what really goes on the inside, right? It's not to prove a point, to show myself off. It's not to prove Adam right or wrong. It's to say this is the human experience that I'm having, and I like for people who are having the same experience to resonate with that and see, because they probably feel the same thing. You know, actually, I did watch some of our stuff. In fact, our first Avoidant Man episode has the highest number of views and the highest number of likes, because there's so many people who feel the same way but are afraid to speak up. So yeah, I actually did rip off a Band-Aid and tell people how I felt and how I thought, and I let myself be dysregulated. And I will admit that it was dysregulated. I'm not 100% proud of the fact that, I am something like this on the inside. What I am proud of is that I'm trying to do this for the cause of letting you, help me, B, to help other people understand if this is maybe an issue they have or not, and C, so we can actually put this conversation out and just push this big giant rock of understanding what humans need a little bit further,
And that's a very tactical PR sort of answer.
It's not PR.
No, and I mean as an avoidant man. I don't even mean like making yourself look good. I mean as an avoidant man, I hear that. The fact that you are feeling those things on the inside, though, those are actually your legitimate feelings. Would you say that you are regulated on the inside if that's what you're authentically feeling?
No, but at the same time, again, I don't have the time, right? So right now we're in such a big push with all the stuff that we're doing, with everything that's happening in my personal life. I mean, I know deep down, I am going to need a break. And I'm starting to reach my own burnout, right? I am starting to see myself swing on this pendulum that you're talking about in terms of like the ethical avoidant and then the manipulative avoidant. I actually want to talk to you a little bit more about that because I'm really curious about how that works. But sometimes sacrifices need to be made. I don't have the time, and I'm just doing the best I got with the mechanisms I have to regulate it for now.
Do you hear? I don't have time to regulate myself. I, me. Where is anybody else in that? Where is your help? Where is your collaboration? What was the first thing God said about Adam? It is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helper. Where's your helpers, Andrey, in there, helping you regulate? Where's the co-regulation? Co-regulation exists in the animal kingdoms. It's a natural process, right? Animal kingdoms don't have therapy world. Animal kingdoms are living naturally. Co-regulation. Where is your co-regulation with your fellow man?
How does that look like? How would that look like?
How did you feel when you came to visit me and my family last time?
That was nice.
Describe nice.
Well, the last time was very unproductive because as soon as I walk in the door, there's so much, commotion and love and all this stuff going on. Every time I visit you, I can't do anything for like 2 days straight. I get tired, I get sleepy, I can't think, I can't do anything.
Sure.
That's it.
What was your productivity like in the week and 2 weeks following that?
Arguably significantly higher.
So during that 2-day loss, okay, that's 2 days. Would you give, what percentage increase of productivity would you put on the next 2 weeks?
At least 50%.
15?
50.
50.
Yes.
So you lost 2 days, and then for the following 14 days found a 50% productivity increase.
The math checks out.
Okay. So I don't have time. Is it possible that that's happening because you are at such an absolute low level of productivity that feels high to you because you are so dysregulated that you think this is the best you can do and don't have time? But when you make a little time, your productivity goes so high that you gain massive amounts of time to be more productive, to achieve greater revenue, greater success, greater products. You've told me many times in the past that when I'm stressed out and pulling away from people, and I say, hey, Andrey, how was my recent batch of short-form content? You say, you produced crap. And I say, really? I thought it was really good. Nope. Trash. In fact, we have thrown most of it in the garbage and you need to refuel. But first, you need to take a day off with your wife and kids. You have told me this time and time again. And I say, Andrey, I don't have time. These are during my stupidest periods. And you say, you have to make time. And then I do it and I come back massively productive. And what always happens? Massive explosive growth on channels. Massive people coming in the comments saying, Adam, thank you so much. This just touched my life. I've never heard it this way before. And I say, well, I say a little thank you, Andrey, at that time because you made me make the time for that 50% productivity increase. So I don't have time sounds like I don't remember that that's going to work. For somebody who does talk about everybody else a lot, and you do, and you love your daughter, you love your girlfriend, I'll say it for you, and you love your friends. You do.
Of course I do.
You love these people with all of your heart, and I know that you do. And at the end of the day, it keeps coming back to you. I will do this. I will do this. I will do this. I will do this. I don't have time for this. This, me, right? Therein lies the problem. And fixing that is the problem, right? That's what you have to do is fix that component, the social, complete, total isolation. Why don't you want to fix that? What is your obstacle to believing even maybe that that's fixable?
I do want to fix it, but I think the way it needs to be fixed is to establish sufficient security. According to the Maslow hierarchy of needs, I do not feel sufficiently safe. And
I'd never thought an avoidant man would ever say that, but okay, continue, please.
Well, I guess finally out, eh? I don't feel sufficiently safe to let things go and not always monitor things and make sure that everybody else is doing good. Admittedly, I don't think that I run that switch. I think at this point that switch runs me more than, I would care to admit.
Is it possible to pick 2 or 3 people that are around you and go to them and say, guys, I am redlining, and I'm not about to die, so nobody panic, but I'm redlining, and it's been a long time, and I need to recover. If you guys can do this for me, I could recover and come back stronger than ever. Are you guys willing to do this for me? That's something I've never actually heard from you in all our years of working together. Is Adam, here's where I'm at. If you could do this for me, it would mean so much. Because I would say, yeah, I would give pretty much anything if you told me that, Andrey. I don't know if you know that. I would give pretty much anything for that. I would. I just would. I know other people in our life would do it as well. I think you don't do it because you don't want to hurt us or create a burden. I'd like to think that you believe we would do it for you, but I don't know if you do or not, because I don't know if you've seen proof of concept of that.
I believe you would, but I just don't believe that you guys have the skills in this specific instance. Now, this is potentially part of the problem, right? I haven't believed that you guys have had the skills forever, right? And reality is, I think that what is happening in the business and the personal side is so big, scary, and complicated. Why would I ever not just want to put it on you, but trust you not to fail? Because I myself am barely managing. And by the time that I have to teach how to do this, like my girlfriend asks me all the time, every day, hey, what can I do to help? She's like, can I help you with I go, well, I'd love to, but how are you going to step in? How are you going to write a strategy for me? How are you going to write a legal email? How are you going to do a contract? How are you going to do all this stuff? Right? Can you imagine if you're, the girlfriend or the wife of a construction worker, and she goes, I want to help you. And she goes, how?
Here's where you're trapped. No, here's where you're trapped.
Where am I trapped?
Because so many of my guys come into me, married guys, and with their wife, and I work with couples, and she says, what can I do to help? And we run through that list. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. And then the information we return is, you can do nothing.
That's not what I do. At least I say, hey, maybe if you could, help me on this chore, help me research this. I give her small tasks.
Okay.
In reality is that's minor. That's like 1%, 2% of the load. The problem is, this is the carrying your cross example. If God has given you this cross, it is yours to carry, because in many ways he's trying to coach you and train you, just as you're coaching and train others, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't just give up on that. Sometimes you gotta push.
When Christ fell 3 times, do you remember who came in to help him and carried his cross with him?
I believe Simon. They grabbed some guy, Simon, and just said, "You
Simon.
do this."
Yeah.
But he didn't ask. The soldiers around him said, "You do this because this guy can't."
If you could go back in time, would you do it instead?
Carry his cross?
Help.
Better damn try.
We all would. I would think they say, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you want to. The same thing is happening here. There's times where people can step in and carry that cross. There's also good enough. What is good enough? Could this person achieve good enough? Not as good as me, but good enough so I can rest and I can come back 50% more productive for 2 weeks. Could we half-ass this part a little bit and get 70% so I can come back and give 90%? What can I do to help you? From a woman means, what can I do to enhance your chances of success or nurture you to increase your productivity? How can I enhance your success or nurture your productivity and soothe you? And sometimes, yes, even take on a task for you and do it 70% the way that you could. So, Andrey, at the beginning of this, you talked about shadow work. And I agree. Carl Jung was right. We have a shadow. Do you know when the shadow grows? Do you know what feeds it? Do you know what makes it worse?
No idea, actually.
It's the things we dissociate from.
What do you mean?
Dissociation itself is what grows and feeds the shadow. When we're a kid, your mom says, I don't like it when you do this, you dissociate from that behavior or that need even. That's an insecure attachment, by the way. You dissociate from that need and you cut it off, and your shadow begins to absorb it and you crave it. Your shadow craves it. You don't. You've dissociated from that need. So every time we dissociate, we feed that shadow. And the more we dissociate, the bigger and meaner it becomes. Okay? That shadow wants to eat. It wants to be fed. We can't dissociate those things because those needs don't go away. They stack up. Eventually, it makes you do things you loathe and fear and hate and hurts people that you care about. That shadow becomes you. You flip places, and it takes more and more control subtly at first over your brain. And this is actually the concept of evil. Our concept of evil is the things we dissociate from corrupt us so that we start hurting everything around us and become a vector of destruction. So and it's all done. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. It's all done for care and love of other people or for defense of self, right? I've heard these arguments many times, many times, to justify murder, justify all kinds of things. So the same arguments get made. The more you dissociate and feed that shadow and don't have time, the bigger that debt becomes. You can't outrun that debt. You can die when you're 50 from a heart attack, but all that has done is rob your family of the next 30, 40 years with you. All it does is cut you off in the middle. Now they have to live without you, and now they are lost and hurt without you. Those people you care about, you die in the middle of the expedition, and now where are they? Because they have no experience pulling the sled, finding the direction, doing the tasks. Everything falls on them immediately in an avalanche. So what is your plan to deal with that early checkout? What is your plan? Or what if you had a different option? What if this integration with other people, integrating the shadow, making other people aware of your shadow? That's what avoidant men are afraid of, is other people seeing their shadow. But people gain trust in you when they see your shadow and they see that you are feeding it appropriately, and it's a fat little goblin sitting on your couch who is quiet and regulated. That's when they really grow in trust with you. When your shadow's invisible, they're afraid of what it is. And when your shadow suddenly bursts out from behind your face, they are overwhelmed and run in terror. So what are you doing to take care of that? And are you willing to let other people maybe help you with your shadow? Because the shadow doesn't grow from us alone. It grows from other people.
I can't say that I'm really doing too much because, like I said, it's just a time question. I go to church, I serve on the altar. I do what I can on the prayer side. I try to take care of the people around me. I try to not let that come out. And I think I do a good job of it. I don't, lose my temper at people. I'm not mean, I think.
Hey, you haven't punched me in the face or anything yet. So.
I
That'd
try
be
to
the
take care of
line.
people.
Yeah.
But the reality of it all, honestly, Adam, and I really like what you've said, and it's really cut it deep. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for this to go away. And it's not going away.
It never will.
And that's just the thing. I've ended up in this place with so much responsibility, thinking that it's the right thing to do. And I'm still convinced it is. I feel like it's my cross to bear. And it's not making anything any better on the inside. As more manifestations, sure. I'm proud of the stuff that we're doing. I'm proud of the stuff you're doing. I'm proud of many of the team members. I'm proud of my child. I'm proud of my girlfriend. I can't say I'm proud of me. And that's a problem.
Well, I'm proud of you, number one,
Oh,
immensely. But I also understand that same struggle, because that's what most men feel, is I am not doing enough. I don't have enough. And whenever that happens, my answer is always, it's not about you. When have you let people in? When have you offered somebody to know more about you? When have you asked for assistance? When have you used the relationships that you have in a good way, leverage them in the proper way, right? If you are endlessly filling all the wells around you and you never take a drink, you're going to die of dehydration.
There you have it, Internet. Adam is telling me to use people.
When they want to be, when they ask to be, when they beg to be. Women in relationships in particular crave to be useful, and they wither and die when you don't let them. The biggest complaint I get from my female clients coming in is my husband won't let me help him at all in any way. We have no emotional intimacy, and I don't know what to do. And he says, I have given you everything. And she says, you have not given me the thing I need most, which is you.
From a spiritual sense, you kind of asked me what my solution to this problem is. My solution is to wait it out, do the best I can. Eventually I'm going to die. I'm going to stand before God. He's going to judge me, knowing me, because I don't know that part. I don't have time to figure it out. He's going to look at me and say, he's good enough. That's my hope. That's basically what I go to church for, right? Just to try to get to the stage where that good enough conversation can happen. I'm not saying I need to be good, right? I don't have that answer.
Okay.
But this is the best I got at the moment.
So you'll interact with him then. Why don't you interact with him today and say something like, hey, God, I don't know the answer, but I'm really flailing here and I really need some assistance. Can you step in and give me what I need? Come feed me. Have you ever tried that? Come feed me. I'm a hungry baby bird chirping in the nest. Come feed me. What does the Bible say? Unless you reduce yourself to the position of a child, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. What do children do? What does your daughter do? Every day. I've heard her. Dad, I'm hungry. Dad, I'm hungry. Dad, I'm hungry. Dad, I'm hungry.
Hungry for what? What am I hungry for?
She doesn't even know.
No, what am I hungry for?
She doesn't know and you don't know. Do you think you need to know? Do you think you have to be specific with God?
I think you need to know because you need to be able to voice your own needs.
No, not in that relationship. That's the one you don't. And you know what? You can even ask, give me some help understanding how to articulate with others. You know what? What's really cool? What really happens when I see couples get fixed is when the guy talks to his wife and says, I don't know how to ask you for what I need. I don't know how to let you help me. I don't know how to feel better. I don't know any of that. And I don't know what to do. And now I've ruined everything by complaining. And she says, this is the best conversation we've ever had. Thank you for telling me that you don't know. Now we can really start. And even hearing you say that has meant everything to me. That itself is what she's looking for because it begins the conversation. Now you can figure it out together. I know your girlfriend. She would love to sit with you and say, because she is, how can I help you? I don't know how you can help me. Do you know how you can help me? Could you come up with a list of ways that you would like to help me? Can you give suggestions? Andrey, you know this. I've had 2 assistants. Okay. And they've both been good. I like both of them. So it's nothing bad against them. But you remember when I had my first assistant, right? I won't even say their names for privacy. But my first assistant, I didn't know how to have an assistant, right? I paid that assistant 40 hours of work a week, and I maybe gave him 1 hour of work a week. I did everything myself. And everyone said, what's going on? I don't know. It just is what it is. Go figure it out. And they'd ask me, what should I do? I don't know, figure it out. And eventually they stopped asking me because I didn't know how to have an assistant. And eventually, what did we do? We said, well, I guess we don't need an assistant. And we laid off the assistant. And my wife, I didn't tell you this, was furious with me. She was furious with me. It was a fight, one of the few fights we've had in years. And why did you not use your assistant? And I said, well, I thought I was. I don't know what an assistant does. And she said, you're an idiot. One of the few times she's ever said it to me. And she said,
how did you feel when she told you you're an idiot?
I said, you're probably right. I've screwed up. So She said, we're getting another assistant. And your assistant's first task you will give them is to teach you how to have an assistant. And to give them have them compile a list of things they can do for you as your assistant. And your instruction to them will be that they will always be compiling new things to do for you and fighting and ripping tasks out of your hand. And that's what I told my second assistant. And this is why I like my second assistant, is because now I say your job is to make yourself overly useful to me so that I don't have to fire you. And they are always
Is that secure attachment, Adam?
It is.
How?
That is the task.
You will make yourself useful to me so I have to fire you.
Find ways. Find ways to help me so I don't have to because I don't want to. This has been the circumstance in the past. Let's work together to avoid that outcome. Okay. So
do you go to your wife saying, hey, find ways to be useful to me so I don't have to divorce you?
No, I absolutely can't do that because the foundational of our relationship is you can never, ever get divorced, ever under any circumstances, which was also the arrangement we laid out. But I also don't say it to my kids. Find ways to be useful or I will do this, right? But this
So
business...
going back to the beginning of this conversation, secure attachments for the family, I get.
No, secure attachment is fully in the business relationships. The business relationship is not an overwhelmingly endless forever. I am not adopting my assistant, but we still have secure attachment within the confines of our relationship. I don't say, well, I didn't tell you this, but you haven't been useful to me in 5 minutes, so you're now fired. I say, hey, you know what? It seems like I haven't given you a lot of tasks. Do you agree? Are there tasks I can start giving you? Or I'll fire you is not a conversation there. It's let's find you things to do. And actually, I don't have to because they're always coming to me saying, hey, I found something I can do. Hey, this is helpful. Adam, why are you doing that? I hear that about twice a week from my assistant. Why are you doing that? Send that task to me. And I go, really? And they say, yes, immediately send that task to me. My assistants got mad at me before because of that. And that's great. We have a wonderful relationship for that consistency. I gave them that task. That is how they help me.
So I think this is probably one of the most useful things I've ever heard you tell me, specifically for the context of business relationships. And I think it could really solve the conversation we've had with Brian. We didn't really get it then, but this could be the answer. Context. Within the confines of this relationship, between certain amount of time, on the condition that you act a certain way and fulfill your obligations, I would love to have a relationship with you.
What did Orion Terabin say on this podcast a few episodes back? Every relationship on the face of the planet is transactional. It's just what the transactions are, what they're based upon, and what you're doing inside of those situations and how invisible they are, right? Every relationship is transactional. Every relationship has boundaries, right? Even in the Bible, you will be married for life unless there's adultery, right? Every relationship has that boundary. You talk about it at the beginning. And then you work with people to make sure that nobody hits that boundary. Secure attachment doesn't say, there are no boundaries. Secure attachment says, hello, assistant. Here is the condition under which our relationship will end. Let's both work together and cooperate diligently to make sure that we never reach this together. I will make sure you don't reach it, and you also make sure you don't reach it. Therefore, we have trust and security, and I will treat you very well as long as we don't go over here. And if we do go over there, I'll warn you 5 times. Or 2 or 3 or however many avoidant person wants. That's a secure relationship. I will act with consistent character to preserve our relationship as long as you are also doing the same. And if you're not, I will give you a warning. That's secure attachment. That's all it means is consistency, trust, safety, predictability within the confines of a clear relationship that is non-exploitative. Andrey, we just had a great talk. How are you feeling right now?
Just asking how I feel.
Yeah, of course. I want to see you throw.
Is this therapy?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how you feel right now?
Honestly, Adam, I'm confused, right? And this is my problem. This was a good talk. You really have hit on some points. It's very reflective. We're gonna say hi. We're gonna say bye. We're gonna, hug each other on the way out. I'm gonna go in the Uber. I'm gonna get home. I'm gonna get back to work. And then what do I do with all of this? This was nice, but this is exactly why men don't go to therapy. Because I opened up to you, and we had a good chat, and now you make me feel like crap about myself, and I have no answers.
And I send you home worse than ever.
And you kind of, and this is
therapy.
And this is therapy, exactly. So help me not do that.
Yeah,
what do you want me to do, Adam?
So I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach.
Okay.
I actually... One reason people don't realize that I am a coach instead of a therapist is because I worked for years in different clinics, and I was told by the heads of those clinics that I was not a good therapist because I was fixing people too fast and giving them exact steps to do, and I was ruining their subscription model.
Okay, so then fix me, because I actually took a risk, and I came out, and I actually
100%.
settled the shit so people back home can actually have maybe somebody to understand that there's other people like them, but now give them a solution.
Yep.
Make this worth my while.
Absolutely. So as you've said in the past, feelings without action are absolutely useless, right? It's pointless to do that. So I'm going to give you some homework. Can you Producer, can you give him some paper and a pen or something to write something down?
Paper and a pen? What is this?
I'm going to give you
actual homework.
I don't want you to do your homework on the air. I don't even want to have this conversation with you on the air for your privacy, because this is going to be very, very internal, sensitive, and give him a piece of paper, please, guys.
Okay, let's do this. I'll play this game.
I need you to do this at home, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to give you three things that you have to do.
Okay, so I'll go homework.
Homework.
For what? Give me a purpose.
Homework to fix the problem that I want to fix. Because you told me you want to fix it.
To fix what problem? Let's get this down on paper. To fix what problem?
Homework to stop dissociating and dying.
Wow. Dissociating and dying?
Yeah.
Dying. Fantastic.
It's coming faster than you realize.
Okay. Wow.
Cool.
Okay.
So step number one, you've talked extensively about other people you care for, love, and you're taking care of them. I want you to sit and take an inventory of let's say the top 10 people in your life that you love, that you care about. Okay. Top 10 people. Give them a score from 0 to 4 on how much you trust them to actually help you.
What?
How much you actually trust them to be of use or help to you when you need them.
Okay.
Your girlfriend will be one of these.
How much they can help me?
How much you trust them to help you.
Okay. Trust them to help me.
If you ask for it.
Me, if I ask.
Do you think they're all utterly useless and incompetent?
What's 0? What's 4?
0 is absolutely not. Either they are so incompetent or so selfish that they will do nothing for me and might even make things worse. 4 is this person is overwhelmingly helpful to me and would really shift my life if only I opened up to them. But I can't make myself.
Okay.
0 to 4. I will not share the score with your girlfriend, I promise.
It'll literally probably be on air.
Number 2, your girlfriend asks you a lot, what can I do? And part of the problem probably is that she's asking you on the spot and you're trying in that moment to think of what she can do at that moment in that task. But there's overall life situation that's actually focusing down into that task. So what can these people do? These people that you care about, what are some things any of them could be doing generally in life and maybe specifically in those tasks, but even generally? What could she do generally? What could any of them do, generally or specifically, that would be of help to you in your life? Write down some ideas and really dig deep on this one, because you're going to say nothing. They could iron my shirt. Well, what could they actually do? Sit with you in the evenings, relax with you, meal prep for you, give you more hugs? I have no idea. I hope you have an idea. Spend some time on it. And number 3, then give me a yes or a no on all of them. Yes or no, are you willing to go to them and have a conversation, like we talked about a moment ago, of I am stuck, I am redlining, I'm not about to die, I'm not giving up on you, but I'm stuck and I don't know what to do and I'm realizing I need help. Are you willing to help me, and do you have any ideas of what would help? Are you willing to have those conversations, yes or no? Go through and do that. Do you trust them to help you? What are you aware of that they could do to help you? And then are you willing to talk to them about it and collaborate with them on them helping you? Those are your 3 pieces of homework. Do not talk about it right now. We will talk about it on the next episode. We're going to go over it together. We'll talk about the results then. We'll talk to everybody, and I'll talk to them if I need to as well, and I'll help you on this. But we will go through that on the next episode. Can you do those 3 pieces of homework for me?
I can, but what's it going to do? Can I ask you what it's going to do? What is the point of this?
The point of this is, number 1, to help you gain awareness of how much trust you have in them. And then I want you to look at, have they earned more trust? Am I giving them less trust than they're worth? Because a lot of avoidant guys are doing that. They look at it and they're horrified. I've given this homework many times. They look at that score of 0 or 1 on everyone in their life and say, why? Why do I have such a poor opinion of everyone I love? And I need you to look at that and see if you have a poor opinion. The tyranny of low expectations is actually what it's called. Are you looking at these people with crushingly low expectations? Number 2, do you have any concept of what human beings offer to you? Most avoidant guys don't, because they've never experienced that kind of love and intimacy and connection and care and nurturing. They don't know what's, quote unquote, on the menu. You stand outside a restaurant looking at the window saying, I wonder what they serve here. This is you writing down, do I know what restaurants serve? Okay, I need you to see if you have no idea. And then number 3, I need to see if you're willing to walk in that restaurant and say, hi, I don't know what you serve, but I'm really hungry. Can you help me? Knowing that the person behind that counter is someone who loves and adores you and has been waiting for you to walk in. Because I bet they'll throw a menu at you and go through it with you and beg you to take the best thing on the menu because you have already paid. You have already paid your fee for all of these restaurants, these 10 people you love. You have paid the fees in advance and then stand outside in the snow complaining about how hungry you are. If you go in the restaurant and ask, they will be grateful to serve you. That's what these 3 pieces of homework are going to offer to you. Can you do that? Will you do that?
I'll try.
Don't try. Don't try. Will you do it?
Okay, Adam, I will do this. I will bring it back. I'm not going to name any names on air because I'm going to protect their privacy, but I am going to do a tally and say, hey, this is my sheet. You know, I think everybody, I'm going to pass it to you. And then I want us to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because I want this for myself. I want this for other people who are like this because this is not a great place. You know, I know I'm going downhill. I'm going to be honest with you. Deep down, I know I'm a problem, right? I know I'm a problem to myself. I know I'm a problem to the people around me because I'm trying to balance too many things, right? It's like throwing flaming knives. You can only do so for so long until you get tired or screw up. And then one is going to end up in my face, and then everybody else is going to have to deal with this, right? I don't like that. I don't know how to put them down, right? I know how to put them down in a way that doesn't land on everybody else. So actually probably the best analogy I can give you. There's a bunch of people underneath me who, you know, I all love and who love me and trust me, and I have 50 knives. I have nowhere to put them, you know? I got to keep throwing them up in the air and trying to like get everybody to move or whatever, right? They're trying to solve this issue. And it's a question of going fast enough to get that done.
I'm going to give you one last thought then. When you care for the people you love and say, I have to carry this cross forever and no one can help me, what you do is you turn everybody you love into a charity case. And it makes them feel like a charity case. And they crave to give back to you and reciprocate with you. And the feeling of being an endless charity case is absolutely unendurable for the best people. The only people you'll keep are the worst people who will treat you like absolute dog crap. And the best people will be so hurt they will eventually leave, and they'll have to because they're driven away emotionally because they can't take the pain of not being able to give back to you. So the practice that we're going to go through is the practice of keeping the best people by allowing them to do what they are craving to do, which is also what you need them to do. It is mutual fulfillment on every side. You need it and they need it. That's what we're going to do.
The more we talk, Adam, the more hopeless I feel. That there is no way out that I can come up with.
That you can come up with.
Exactly.
Point number 3 on that list is to go to other people and ask them, I can't come up with anything, can you?
What are they going to tell me that I already know?
Let's turn that around. What will these people tell you that you don't already know? I'm curious to find out. You're hopeless. I'm curious. Because I think they're going to tell you a lot you don't already know.
Have you ever heard or seen of cases like, you know, like this? I'm going to make it super easy and super narcissistic. Have you ever handled a case like mine? I'm sure it's a question you've had because you know my story. I've shared a lot of it. You know the stuff that I've seen. Again, it's not the worst. It's not, in some ways not the best, but it is what it is.
Are you asking me because you're skeptical that I haven't seen it, or are you asking me legitimately if I ever have and seen it get better?
Yeah.
You're asking for hope.
Correct.
Okay. Yes. Many, 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 many. Over 15 years.
So how long does that take, and what does that look like?
How long does it take an alcoholic to stop drinking alcohol?
Well, they can stop drinking instantly.
Correct. The thing about avoidant people is you are only avoidant until you stop avoiding. And then you go in and have these conversations. And that's where you change forever. Because I've never seen a situation like this where they have that conversation with people and don't change. That is what changes them permanently. The problem with avoidant people, and I mean this with all love, the problem with avoidant people is that they're ignorant. They're some of the most highly intelligent people on the planet, but they are ignorant about the possibilities and they are ignorant about what's available to them. They see about 20% of what's available and they miss 80% of what's actually available, which is why they grind themselves down in the dirt and an early death. And everyone says, wow, isn't that so sad? The men who leave a lasting legacy, who really make that long-term difference you're craving to make for your family, are the people who turn that around and allow those people to reciprocate for them. And it takes guts to do that because you don't know how they can do it yet. You haven't experienced it yet. When you have that conversation and say, help me to help me.
There's not a lot of men like that. What are some examples of men in history that have done this? Because this sounds like a fairy tale. You know, I've been in business for a long time. I've been in a lot of circles. I've known a lot of people. The way that I live is one of the better ways because I have, even these conversations, I'm not addicted to anything. I, am honestly devoutly following my faith. I'm trying to build a family. I'm trying to take care of my family. I'm trying to take care of my friends. I'm not after the money. I'm actually building content creators, trying to change the world. And all I know is that this is the way to do that because all I see is this everywhere I go. At any type of corporation. I've met billionaires, I've shaken hands with them. I've met countless entrepreneurs who are kind of in early stages to the mid stages of business. I went through corporate, right? I've been all around the block. I worked with every nature of creator I can imagine, and they all report the same thing. Mm-hmm. How can the world be wrong, Adam?
Just because everybody is doing it does not mean it's even the best system. Just because everybody, the majority, is doing it right now does not mean that that's the smartest system. Just because everybody is drinking poison doesn't mean that poison is good for you. Just because everybody in America is eating fast food does not make fast food good for you. Look at the massive rates of people doing the absolute wrong thing because it's convenient and it's all they know. Look at the American health system. Do you want to really model yourself based on what everybody else is doing? Or do you want to look at a structure that actually operates successfully because it lives within it operates within the range of your biology and your neurology, and it increases you, as you said earlier, 50% productivity increase for 2 weeks based on 2 days. A 1 day to 1 week ratio. 1 day to 50% increase for a week. Would you like a 50%, a 1 to 7 increase like that? A 50% increase? Does that sound good?
Oh, that's a fantastic investment.
Sounds amazing.
Can you imagine what I can do with that? Can you imagine what I can be like if I get 50% of my capacity, my life back from this hole?
So what if what if all of the leaders in corporate America are sitting there like you right now saying, I don't have time to make that 1 day investment to get a 7 day return of 50% increased productivity? What if they are all just trapped and they won't do that homework right there in front of them that I'm asking you to do? And I still haven't heard you say, yes, I'm going to do it, Adam, thanks. What I've heard is, but what's the point? But what's this actually going to do? But what are they going to teach me? But what are they even... You're asking for the answers before you're even going to do it. That's you trying to hedge your bets and make sure that the investment is worth it. You're scared of doing those things, so you're trying to find a reason not to do them. Do it and get the data, and you will know. There are some times you have to make the choice and then see what the results are. And this is one of those times. But the productivity you've seen that little snippet when I spend 2 days like this, 2 weeks of 50%. That's a taste of that.
This is scary.
I know.
Why?
Why is it scary? Because it risks everything that has hurt you in the past. all of the pain and suffering and disappointment and people telling you that you're not worth it. And if you go out and have that conversation with those people and they spit in your face and say, no, I don't want to help, or they half-ass it, or worse, they are so incompetent they just say, I don't know how to help you, and there's no answers, you will then have proof that it's hopeless, and now you are doomed. Or worse, they will pity you, and you will be looked down upon.
I absolutely despise pity. There's one thing that my girlfriend and I have as a rule. You must never pity. Pity is like poison to men.
If I was one of your 10, and you came to me and said, I don't know how to get out of this, and I need help, but I don't even know what help I need. Are you willing to help me? I'm not going to go, look at this poor, pitiful guy. I'm going to say, this man that I respect, who has done so much for me, is giving me an opportunity to repay the debt that I owe to him. I am grateful for this opportunity. Let me take a day or two and think of the things I can do for you, and I will come back to you with that information, but I swear to you, I will find you ways to help. That's not pity. That's respect and gratitude and a desire for connection.
The foundations of a good business relationship. Well, no shit.
So I think that if we can change you, then I think we can change corporate America eventually. Maybe I'll have to launch something there for helping those people. But for now, why don't you give those things a shot? We will talk about them in a couple of days on another episode, and we'll move forward. Come back and tell me how that goes, because you don't even have to talk to anyone yet. You have to go figure out if you can talk to people first.
Last question before I say yes or no. Why do you think this can change the world?
There's a famous exorcist. He's passed away now. But he reports for 26 years, he spoke to people who were documented as possessed. And he fully believed that these were demonic spiritual entities. And he asked them, what's the relationship between people in hell? What's it like? Do they get married? Do they have sex? Do they beat each other up? And the answer was, there are no relationships in hell. Everyone is turned inwardly forever, staring endlessly into their own soul, consumed by themselves, and consumed in absolute despair that they will never have a connection ever again. And when I hear avoidant men say, me, I, not that they're selfish. They have no concept that anyone outside of them will ever connect to them because no one has. And they don't think that that's possible to escape from that. That is living hell. What you're talking about is enduring a living hell for as long as possible while loving other people. That's living hell. So why do I think that can change the world? It's because we're not in hell. We're on earth. So for the non-religious people out there, that right there is the pathway to a life that is in line with your neurobiology. You are in the avoidant state you're in as an artificial construct brought on by pain and trauma that taught you the wrong lessons for a very small biased pool of your family, and now you generalize to every human on earth. You walk into relationships already biased, and you think you're being objective because you let a small data set dictate everything. That will be evidence of your bias. And then when you are convinced that your bias is blinding you, you can begin to experiment with the smallest scrap of hope and see if maybe there's even a small percentage, even 10% of people that you could trust enough to have a real human connection with and get out of hell. That's why that will change the world, because it will turn the world from a living hell into something we can all take care of together.
Hell comes when you cease to imagine heaven.
Hell comes when you stop believing that anyone outside of yourself will ever connect with you ever again.
Well, you convinced me. Let's try this out.
All right, my friend. Thank you. All right, the next episode, We'll talk this through. We'll get this figured out, and we'll take care of everything. Okay.
Let's give it a shot.
Perfect.
So the guys back home, this is actually why after 4 sessions with Adam, I literally started a business to work with him.
I remember.
It was not to this level. This is probably the most intense.
This was a long time coming. You've been away from my coaching practice for a little while. Yeah. I needed to rip you apart a little bit.
This is probably the most intense conversation we've had ever. And I appreciate it.
It really came home to me because, I love and adore you. I've been thinking like, man, that guy's really stressed out. But the ladies in the comments who are writing in like, what is Andrey doing? Like, this is horrifying. My female coaching clients, hi out there, they would come in and be like, oh, Adam, that last episode you and Andrey had, I was glad you took him down a peg because, like when they come in, I'm like, this guy's like one of my best friends.
What did I ever do to them?
They come in, I'm like, this guy's one of my best friends. And then I realized, that's how he's coming across.
Is that what it is? Is that why I'm getting all the hate in the comments?
That's why
I'm
you're
just
coming
stressing
across.
people out?
And then I stopped and I thought, well, how is he coming across to people who aren't me? I know him, but how is he coming across to people who aren't me? To his new girlfriend, to his team, to his clients, to whoever. How is he coming across elsewhere, and what can I do? I've actually been thinking about this quite honestly. I've been thinking like, what can I do to help? Do I even need to? Is it welcome? Is it not welcome? Am I wrong? It's like, where are you at, my friend? What are you doing? Would you like to do something different? Is there anything I can do to help? Please. You and I have very little time, but what time I have is yours. What can I do? That's been on my mind. So ladies in the comments, thank you for pushing me into that action. What do you have to say to people in the comment sections right now? Chat, he's talking to you here.
Well, first of all, ladies, like, honestly, it's like, hey, can you come out and be vulnerable? You are awful and you suck. It's like, holy cow. We got to figure out what you want here, girls. But the explanation that Adam gave actually completes the picture for me. And it's not the fact that you're trying to judge my life, because I don't frankly care. It's not the fact that you think I'm a bad person, because, again, I don't frankly care. It's the fact that my state of being is stressing you out, right? You're getting all this subconscious stuff and you just don't know how to process it, because I open up a little bit and it's like you're just like, opening the blast door of a nuclear reactor and just like, and it hurts. And I understand that it hurts. And I'm sorry if I have ended up making you uncomfortable about that. In the sense that I don't like making people uncomfortable, but I think you do have to be uncomfortable sometimes to deal with a hard, more complicated truth. And what I'm hoping to do here, I don't want any pity from you or for anybody. I don't care, right? I actually dislike that. What I want you to do is I want you to understand that the men in your life who are acting this way are having the same experience, and I'm really hopeful that by having this solution, the purpose of this podcast was, I wish you knew. This series is specifically about that. I wish you knew what happens in your head if you're a man. I wish you knew what happens in your man's head if you're a woman. And I wish you both knew how to deal with this. This is why we have basically spent the last 3 years building an atom so we can have this conversation. This is the byproduct and the outcome, not even the byproduct. That is the outcome that I wanted this company to have, so that people can understand what they wish they knew and then go get it. Now I'm scared of finding out what I wish I knew, and unfortunately, ask and thou shalt receive, and I have dared to ask, and now I have to go and, get fed, apparently, whatever knowledge this is. So I'm kind of apprehensive, I'm not going to lie. This is not therapy, right? This is you guys can see why this is not therapy, because a therapy would have ended with how you feel, I was left confused, I would have, come home, my girlfriend says, how was it? And I go, we talked about, but I know how to deal with it. Now it's annoying.
And then she'd be angry at you for not opening up about what was in therapy.
I don't know what to say.
Stupid.
Yeah, it was dumb, right? So this isn't therapy because it is solutions. Like, this piece of paper is a difference between coaching and therapy, right? So now I'm actually held accountable, right? Because I can throw it out as soon as I walk out, but I made a promise and I shook.
I'll find you.
You'll find me. That we shook hands on it, so that has to happen. And I like that because now Adam's actually vested. He actually cared. He actually walked me through it. He actually had some arguments. He gave me the space for 3 prior episodes actually, to really throw everything I could at him. And eventually he said, hey, you know what? I love you, and you can't hurt me by having a challenge. That is probably the biggest thing for me. He said, You can't hurt me because I love you, and you just don't quite know yet. So I'm going to show this. So when I was,
I just find it a challenge. The more you push back on me, the more I want to hug you. That's
good.
all.
So that part is novel to me, and I really enjoy that. So this is why it's not therapy. This is actually why I don't think therapy works for men. This is why I'm fully invested in the idea where I'm throwing everything I have in terms of money, in terms of resources, in terms of my time, believing that this is the model that is going to fix the world, but is going to fix the world one example at a time. We actually need case studies. We actually need proofs of concept. I don't mind being the proof of concept for this. I think there is greater purpose to this. I'm not ashamed of the way things have been going. I'm not proud of myself, but I'm not ashamed either, because under the conditions I have, I truly am doing the best I can. And maybe this is my next step, right? This is the next challenge that I'm being faced with, and that's okay. And I'm going to do the best I can at being as honorable as I can in order to get this done. How does that sound?
I love that. We'll have another episode with you and me. You said case studies. It's one of the hardest. I'll be honest. It's one of the hardest things. I'm glad you've done this and opened up here, because I work with so many people, right? Hollywood A-listers, political figures, corporate executives, business owners. Nobody wants to come out and say, I have attachment problems and Adam Smith helped me. So I've helped all these people in the news that everybody knows about, that they have no idea they're getting attachment help. One thing I'll talk to you a little bit later, but one thing I want us to talk about is maybe having even people on the show where I can help them a little bit. You can sit and watch if you want, or yell at them. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I don't think that talking about things is going to help the world anymore. And it's now proving that the things you talk about actually work with a few people, then at a scale, and then at a greater scale. And we finally have the capacity to do this through the digital media space, through everything that is being built, and even artificial intelligence will help us do that if we choose to use it for good as opposed to...
So for us here on this podcast, what can we? I agree. Like, put up or shut up. If the people at home liked this, if it was helpful to see this, what could we do here? Do you want to start pulling more people on and I help them here on the show?
I think it's a great idea.
I'd love that. Like John Delaney does it. It's amazing.
All right.
I'd love to do like extended
Well,
versions.
let's do this. Let's do this, guys. So, guys back home, we're going to have a second episode, and we are probably going to air this sequentially, right? So we're going to have this conversation, and the following week, let's have the next conversation. So you don't have to wait. I don't think that's fair. And on the first conversation, take notes and give us feedback. But in this conversation that we're going to have coming up after I go through this list, I want you to really come out and say, should we make this pivot? Should we be actually bringing people on like me? So you guys can look me up. You know who I am. Like me, from other walks of life. There's a lot of people that are not like me, and having Adam help them and walk them through this in 1 or 2 sessions, helping them process this stuff that's holding them up in an attempt to prove that attachment can actually change the world, telling people what they wish they knew, and helping them communicate that to other people. Let's see what happens.
That's
I think
interesting.
that's worthwhile spending time on the internet for.
Yeah, let's let the audience decide. If you guys want to see more stuff like this with people, you want to see me working with people in attachment and doing coaching, please let us know in the comments. Maybe even we could put out a call to get people.
Yeah,
it would have to be in person. I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah,
over Zoom.
we will have to do it.
We'd have to fly someone here. If someone would have to live in this area or something.
I'm sure we can figure it out. But if you are interested in doing this, and if we have at least 1,000 likes, then let's try this out on this video. And then if you actually would like to come on, then drop a note in the comments. We're going to have our...
Or email me.
Or
that'd
email.
Be that'd be the best thing.
Okay.
You know what?
What's your email?
The best thing for that, actually, send an email to my support email.
What's the email?
So support@adamlanesmith.com, and put in the subject line guest. So at support@adamlanesmith.com, subject line guest, and say, hey, I'd like to be on your show. Maybe tell me a little bit about you. I'll read it in there. I check that email several times a day. So pop in there in the support email. Let me know. I don't know if anyone out there will be interested in that, but that'd be fun.
Let's try it out. All right, guys. Well, I think it ties it up nicely. I said. I have homework. I'm going to go do it.
I know.
We are going to have an episode in the next 2 days that is going to be recorded.
I know.
And then we'll see if this helps.
That'll be great. For everyone out there who is sad for Andrey that he said, not pitying him, but just sad that he maybe was hurting, I will give him a hug once we finish this episode. Don't worry. So that's coming. I'm just going to warn you, I'm going to tackle you once the cameras go off.
Yuck.
Thank you for being with us today. We will see you again. Andrey, where can they find you if they want to send you love mail this time?
Love mail. At Andrey Korikov on Instagram, and check out the work I do, the business we've built at veritascreative.media.
Beautiful. I'm Adam Lane Smith. As you hopefully know, I'm on adamlanesmith.com on my website with courses, coaching, books, everything that you need to fix your attachment. If you want to find me on social media, best places, honestly, YouTube at Attachment Adam, Instagram at Attachment Adam, and pretty much anywhere else. Just search my name, Adam Lane Smith. I'll be there. Thank you, Andrey, for being so honest on this episode. Thank you for bearing with us at home, and we will see you on the next episode of I Wish You Knew.